How we doing? How we feeling? Happy Memorial Day. It's a beautiful day here in San Antonio. Okay, I need to figure out what sunnies I want to wear today. Let's see what I got in this bag. This is what I was looking for. Alright, I want to wear these, I think, today. I'm really into my key glasses, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Okay. But yeah, so how we doing, y'all? What's going on? It's a beautiful day here in San Antonio. I'm headed to go wash my car. Finally getting my day started. I've kind of like procrastinated throughout the morning. I sit on my patio, had coffee, just sending some text messages out to some of my soldier friends, especially my son who served our country as well. Just for showing them appreciation for their sacrifices and their continued sacrifices, because some of them suffer from trauma, whether it's physical, mental, or whatever, from their time served. So yeah, just like to remember our soldiers on this beautiful day. And it was said at church Sunday, our pastor did a beautiful tribute to the soldiers and to the fallen soldiers, and he also included the families that served along with their soldiers, because when our soldiers go off to war, sometimes people don't think about the families that they leave behind and the pieces that they have to pick up, and even the pieces that they pick up once our soldiers are back. As a wife or a husband of a soldier or a child of a soldier, that task can be very trying sometimes, because our soldiers go through a lot, and for them to have to come back into this world and function sometimes it's difficult. So we always have to remember the families of our soldiers as well. I know myself personally, I was married to a soldier, and I was only married to him through the time of Desert Storm, but I know what it was like as a wife and a mother at that point, and being a young wife and a mother. And I remember the fear that I had the day I watched those soldiers walk in and announce that we were at war, and I was in another country away from my family, and the fear that I felt myself. So I just like today just to give thanks and to show and to say how much we appreciate the service that they gave along with their soldiers. So yeah, okay, I have a fly in my car. Yeah, so that's pretty much been my morning, just kind of, like I said, sending out some messages, sharing some love. And I don't know, today I've just been thinking about, I guess because it is Memorial Day, and just thinking about life itself, and life is so short in so many ways. So this morning when I was sending out my messages to the soldiers, and I also sent one out to my son's father, because I am a firm believer, and some people have agreed to my method of madness and others totally disagree. And honestly, it's really not my concern whether anyone agrees or disagrees. It's how I believe, and and that's, it's pretty much like one of those things where I say, this is how I believe. And contrary to whether you believe in my beliefs or not is really none of my concern. Like as long as I know that I'm doing what I truly believe in, then I'm okay with that. And I got divorced from my son's father. He was my high school sweetheart. He was, at that time in my life, the love of my life. I loved him with all my heart, and things went way wrong, and we ended up divorced. While I have no more feelings for him, it took me a long time to get to that point where I didn't have feelings for him, it took me a long time to get to that point of where I could talk about him, where I could see him and not be affected by him. And once I got to that point, I felt so relieved. I felt so good, because I can remember that transition time when I knew I didn't love him anymore, but because I was used to him and he made my family complete. Like, I had a husband and I had a baby, and so that made my family complete. So I remember fighting very hard for that marriage. I fought for him to be the man that I wanted him to be. When I would talk to my friends, and it's funny because I didn't even realize what it was that I was doing. I didn't understand. I didn't get it. I experienced something somewhat of the same situation is when I realized that how I was with my ex-husband, or my son's father, that transitioning from falling out of love with him and being able to let him go. Because I can remember there were times that I would just, when I'd be talking to friends or other people in general, and I would share with them the things that I wanted him to do that he wasn't doing. I would share with them my emotional roller coaster of being like not understanding why he didn't feel the same way I felt about being a parent, or why he didn't do certain things the same as I did. And it was until many, many years later in my life that Hi, I'm great, thanks. How about yourself? Happy Memorial Day.
Thank you. Happy Memorial Day. What are we getting for you?
I'm going to do one today.
And the air fragrance, what do you like in there?
The leather.
All right, we'll get you all taken care of. So you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay?
Last time they didn't put it in there, so make sure they do it this time.
I apologize about
I was
that.
like, hey, they didn't give me my air freshener.
They putting it there. You paid
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Pendleton.
Thank you. I got some time to chat while I wait for my turn to come. And getting back to what I was saying, I didn't realize it until when I was in another situation, and I found myself doing the same thing. I wanted, I think because I had a child with my husband, my ex-husband, I wanted that family dynamic. I wanted everything to be the way it should be. And so when I would talk to other people and I would share that, I had a friend that asked me one time, she said to me, if you don't really tell me that you don't care, because I would, in the same breath that I would say things like, I don't understand why he doesn't want to do stuff with me and my son, or I don't understand why he doesn't want to be home at night, or I don't understand why he doesn't take our son out and do things with him. Well, my friend looked at me and she said to me one day, she said, you say that you don't care, yet you constantly bring up the fact that you don't understand why he doesn't do certain things. Maybe you're not over him yet. And I remember being kind of like a little bit angry at her for saying that to me, because I was like, well, how dare you say that? Like, I'm not, I don't even love this guy anymore. I'm here because, and then it was like, in the same breath, I had to think for a minute. I was like, I'm here because, I just want him to be a better father. And I came up with all these excuses. But when the truth of the matter is I had not let go. I had not come to terms with that I really didn't want my marriage. Even though I didn't love him anymore, I had not come to the terms with I didn't want my marriage. And it took me a while to get there. Now, and when I got there, it was like I recognized it. But it was until I was in another situation and I found myself doing the same thing that I truly understood the whole dynamics of me not wanting, of that transition from when you fall out of love with someone, especially when you're married and you have a child with them, that need to hold on to something that's not really there. And so when people I'm saying all of this for a reason. I know some of you are probably thinking like, what? Where's she going with this? because like this morning I sent my son's father, my ex-husband, a text message thanking him for his service, wishing him a happy Memorial Day. And I often, for holidays, I usually reach out to him. And some people will say to me, why do you do that? Like all the things that he did to you, all the things that, the things that you went through with this man, why would you even care to say things like happy birthday or happy Memorial Day or happy Father's Day? And I say to them, because he is my son's father and he was a part of my life. Now, I'm able to do this now, and I truly wish him happiness. There's no lingering thoughts. The day that I became free of him, where I could speak of him and see him and not be taken in by him or upset by him, was a good day. And because our lives will never ever not be intertwined, because we share a son and now a grandson together, I want to always be the person that I am. Now, before, I wasn't good at it because and I think about, and I explain to them that, because a lot of people misunderstand it. They think that they confuse it to where, like, kind of like how I was before when I was still married to him and I wasn't ready to let go of the family dynamic that I dreamed and wished for. A lot of people misconstrue that and they think that those are one and the same. And I can very proudly sit here in my car and I can say that they're so different and so far removed from each other, because I was at a point like that. I was at a point that even though I didn't love him anymore, I just didn't know how to let go of wanting the family, wanting the husband and the wife, and that whole little fairy tale relationship. Okay, I am back in my car now. I got my car all washed and clean. I have no idea where I left off at, but so anyway, but basically you guys know that I've always shared with you all that I do believe that when God places it on my heart to say certain things or do certain things, there's a purpose or a cause behind it. And yeah, so I don't know how I got on this subject today, but I guess there's a reason that I needed to say that there was somebody that's going to listen to this video or see this video, and maybe this is going to resonate with them. Maybe this is going to help them get to that point, or understand that they aren't at that point, that understand that they're still fighting for their family dynamics, so that they want, even though they may not love the person that they're with, that they're still longing for that family dynamic. And as long as you're still longing for that family dynamic, you cannot move on. And I'm not saying that you should move on or you shouldn't move on, because that's a decision that only the people involved can make. But understanding and knowing the difference is half the battle. Like I said, for me, it took me a while to get there, because I do speak from the heart and I do speak real. I do understand, and I know what it's like when other people are talking to you and you don't think that they understand where you're coming from, because in your mind you're like, I'm over that person. Because so many of us think when you no longer feel the emotion of love for someone else, you think that makes it over, but it doesn't. You have to be willing to let them go. You have to be able to walk away free of them. And for so many people, and that sometimes is so much harder to get to than what people like to realize or people like to acknowledge. And like I said, staying in a marriage, not staying in a marriage, only you can make that decision. Even moving on once the marriage has ended. There's so many wives and husbands, or ex-wives and ex-husbands, that fight, and they can't. They fight over the children. They fight amongst the children. They don't want to see the other one move on with a significant other, and that's because they're still holding on to the family dynamics. They may not love the person anymore, but they're still holding on to what they perceive a family should be. And it's until you can let that go that you can totally be free. Whoever might see this video today, maybe this is something that you needed to hear, and acknowledging the fact and understanding that you are or aren't there yet is half the battle. It really is. And I feel like I'm repeating myself now, But anyway, so I'm going to stop here because I could go on and on in this subject because it's very dear to me, because I know the struggle that I felt when my first marriage failed, and I know the struggle that I felt over the years with other things in my life, other relationships that I've had, and how, like, in your heart you want certain things sometimes so bad, and how painful it is to realize that you need to let certain things go, because if you don't love a person, and the love is so far removed. And I don't mean that you just had a fight with the person and you're mad at them for right now. I'm talking where you no longer love the person and you're so far removed from them that you're in another whole world away from that person. You can still, believe it or not, be tied to that person by holding on to the family dynamic or the sense of what you think the relationship should be. And that's the hardest. That's the part that you have to walk away from. You have to let it go, but only you can let it go when you're ready to let it go. You can move on to another relationship and you can fall in love with another person, but until you let go of that part of your past, you will never be able to truly move on. And it's hard. I mean, like I said, I learned that from experience. Anyway, yeah, I've said it now, haven't I? So anyway, I am going to probably just end this vlog right now because I feel like I have said a lot, and it's time to be quiet now. So I'm going to be quiet. But if you are a first-time watcher, I would like to extend the opportunity for you to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you.